All right, so we're doing a bit of a wholesome video today. Today, I want to look at some of the comments in this poll I put up about a week ago. Well, it was more than a week ago. And I basically asked the people who were subscribed, I said, how did you discover Dragon Ball? And the choices were Toonami, VHS, DVD, home video media, played a video game first, TV syndication, non Cartoon Network, which was before Toonami, or other. 46% of the people who voted, which right now is 36,000 votes, voted for Toonami. So, like I suspected, the majority of my audience first found Dragon Ball through Toonami and then later on kind of grew to become fans, you know, as they got older. And of course, became a fan through Toonami. So I wanted to look at some of these replies because there are some pretty cool stories here. And I love reading y'all stories about how you discovered Dragon Ball because I discovered it before Toonami, but I know that most people in the West discovered it through Toonami. I'm not a fool. I mean, I made a whole video about it, which I'll link at the end of this video. And I love reading these stories. So I'm going to read a few of these and kind of talk to y'all about it and how I can relate to you. So Miguel Ivar's at the very top. I did give it a heart. He wrote, watching the OG Dragon Ball and Z at the same time was a trip. Then they even added GT into the mix. And it took me years to get the fucking timeline down. He was a kid, then an adult, then a kid again who turns into a half monkey, half man hybrid adult. Yeah, if you're watching all three shows at once without any context, I can see why it would confuse you. I don't blame you at all for getting confused on that. I was also watching it with legendary Portuguese dub. You have no idea how batshit insane it truly was. It literally references popular shows of the network it was airing during the biggest fights of the series. It does so casually. We had no idea in the 90s that Frieza wasn't actually telling Goku about the soap opera that was on at 8 p.m. every night. I've heard about the Portuguese dub from Moscow X and a few other people, and yeah, it's wild. The Portuguese dub is wild. I mean, they're literally doing meta jokes. It's almost like Team 4 Star before Team 4 Star, except it was an actual official dub. And man, I can tell you this, Dragon Ball purists would hate it, and I consider myself a purist, but now that I understand like what it is, like if you're going into it knowing what it is, it's not really that bad. But I kind of feel weird about the Portuguese people who had no idea what the heck was going on with this when it was first on the air. Ren says we had an entire Dragon Ball manga in elementary school. Oh, the entire Dragon Ball manga. I did not have that in my elementary school. The librarian was so fond of me, she let me borrow the whole series for me to read through. That's a very cool librarian, yo. Texan says Toonami. All I remember was seeing Raditz obliterate a car with one hand while Gohan cried in fear. Ocean Dub 2 was real intense back then. Yeah, the Ocean Dub actors were cream of the crop in those days. Super Elite says, I remember my god brother playing Budokai 2 on his PlayStation when I was like maybe 8 years old. All I remember is seeing Raccoon beat the ever-living shot, I know what he really meant to say, out of Vegeta. That was my first Dragon Ball experience. Well, Budokai and Budokai 2 were huge as far as bringing fans into the franchise. And it's interesting though because, you know, that fight was obviously fun to watch in the games, but the anime version of that fight is amazing. Go back and watch it. The animators were top notch on that one. Meikashi says, I don't remember the first time exactly when I realized I already loved this cartoon about a boy with a tail and his flying cloud. And some years later when the first episode of Z was aired, my mind was blown away when I realized the protagonist was that boy all grown up. The original broadcast of DB here sadly didn't cover the whole series. Yeah, when it first aired in the United States, they only had the first 13 episodes dubbed. Then they jumped over to Z. So you didn't get to see what happened to Goku, you know, in between him being a kid and being an adult in Z. So of course it could cause some confusion and a big missing gap in storytelling. Rice Man says, I remember coming home from elementary school and watching the reruns of Frieza Saga on Nicktoons. That was my first exposure to the Dragon Ball Z movies. That was way later. The Nicktoons run was like 10 years after Toonami. But a lot of folks who were younger got into it with that. You know, it's always weird when, for somebody like me, who got into the series in the mid-90s, I get the Toonami generation because I'm kind of from that generation, but I see people who got into it like through Kai, which I understand, but there's people who got into Dragon Ball with Super and have only seen Super, and that's weird to me because you're missing really the whole story. Super to me is just DLC. The Dragon Ball story is Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z. That's the story. That's what's in the original manga. To me, everything after that's DLC. Whether you want to get into a canon debate or not, it wasn't the original artistic vision of Toriyama. Of course, Toriyama was involved, but it wasn't the original, like, younger Toriyama. He's a different man. So, to me, it's like interesting to look back on that and know that that's kind of how things are. And Super is just a small piece of the bigger pie that is Dragon Ball, a very small piece. Sasm Sinister Six, that's just the Amazing Spider-Man Sinister Six, what I think that means. He writes, my dad recorded the episode on tape before I was born so he could show me how powerful and great the series is. I thank him every day for that. That is cool. I have a feeling he recorded them for himself and just let you watch them, because that's what we all did back then. But that is pretty cool that he actually showed you through tapes. DBZ Ian says, I was like 6 or 7 playing Raging Blast at a friend's house for the first time, and I remember them telling me about the plot, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball is a show that has time travel, magic, dinosaurs, aliens of all different species. You've got monkey boys, you've got martial arts, you've got pretty much everything that a male would be into. You know what I mean? You've got everything, man. Robots. I mean, everything, dude. You have sci-fi mixed with fantasy, mixed with martial arts. Toriyama covered everything in this little series. Christopher. Okay, this is a long one. I don't. I have to give other people some chances, Christopher. I appreciate the comment. I'm going to give it a heart. But I'm actually curious about. I'm going to read this after I'm done with the video because I'm curious to see what you wrote here. Because he's going through the whole, like, his entire, like, acclamation of Dragon Ball, which actually, I remember Sailor Moon. I got into Sailor Moon first, and then Dragon Ball Z, because Sailor Moon was available first. The old Deke dub back in the day. Xavier Harris says, I'm only 20, but reading y'all stories make me feel so ancient. No, bro. You're the young one here. I was like 3 or 4 years old watching my dad's VHS recordings of DBZ, and I've never forgotten and have been rewatching damn near every year since. See, that's cool whenever you have like a generational thing, when like a father shows his kids Dragon Ball. That's all, it always pops me. Andrew Jackson, not the president, says, I discovered Dragon Ball Z while watching Saturday morning cartoons as a kid. I would get up extra early, about 5:30 a.m. to watch the different Japanese animations like Vampire Hunter D, Ninja Scroll, etc. This is how I ran across DBZ. They never aired Ninja Scroll on television where I lived. I don't think it ever aired on TV in America because it's got, a sexual assault scene. It's got, lots of stuff like that. It's got lots of violence and gore. That just wouldn't make it anywhere near regular television. So either you're remembering things incorrectly or you're from a country that aired this kind of stuff. Or maybe you saw it on a premium television network. That was not on regular TV. It was way too much. Vampire Hunter D did air, but it was very censored. And if Ninja Scroll aired censored, I wouldn't know about it. I would have no idea. I've only seen the uncut one. I'm going to scroll down here. Zena Omega says, during the Frieza saga was the first time I watched Dragon Ball. After I seen Frieza impale Krillin with his horn and the blood gushed out of his back while Frieza laughed and mocked Krillin was a sick and twisted way, I was hooked forever as a Dragon Ball fan. You're a pretty sadistic dude. I'm just kidding. Every day during the early 2000s, I would sometimes run home from school to watch Toonami. Let's go down a little bit further here. Let's go to, let's just pick a random one here. Uchu TV. It's the best discovering a new series with a lot of lore and iconic moments to discover. I wish I could go back in time and watch it all again. Well, you can. You're just ain't gonna be at the first time. If you've seen your girlfriend naked the first time, you'll remember it, but the 1,000th time, you probably won't. Then again, maybe you will. I know I remember. Bobby, no last name, says 2010. I was in 10th grade. Damn, this dude's young. And I heard my friends talking about DBZ, Googled it after school, and binge watched all the episodes, filler included, in a week on some shady sites. I was 100% worth the viruses. Damn. Well, it's funny you say filler included because, when I got into Dragon Ball, people just watched the filler. I guess it was the same with Naruto, because I feel like back in the day, anime fans just watched the filler. It wasn't like there was like guides out there. I'm sure there was something, but it wasn't like we had YouTube and there was like anything that was like a guide to tell you, okay, this is filler and this is not. We just watched everything because with Dragon Ball Z, we had gotten a lot of the anime episodes before the manga had even come out. So many of us didn't even know what filler was. Like when we were kids, we had no idea. Now we all know. So it's interesting how you said, including the filler ones. For us, it was just normal to watch everything. We just watched every episode. We loved this so much. Even Garlic Jr., Paikuhan, all that stuff. My father launched me. This is from Ninth Hokage. My father launched me across the water on a sunny beach day while yelling Kamehameha. I asked him what that was from. My life changed for the better back then. Man, it's like when Piccolo grabs Gohan by the hair and throws him into that mountain in early DBZ. That's the way I'm picturing him doing it to you, bro. He grabbed you by the hair and threw you. It probably wasn't like that, but that's the way I want to picture it in my own head. Cersei's the Undead says, when I got home after school when I was a kid back in the day, I'd watch DB, DBZ, and Gundam Wing on the old Toonami block. Those were the days. Toonami did a lot for us, man. Like, I could sit here and criticize the dub, and I have, because the dub of DBZ had issues, but the content of Dragon Ball superseded the dub, and the way that it hooked people can never be ignored. Let's go down. There's a lot of replies, yo. If you want to check out the threads in the community tab, there's a lot of great threads here. Mike Mock, been there for live back in 95, 96. I was like 5 years old. I didn't understand the Cell Saga, but when the Boo Saga starts, I finally understand plots, not just cartoon visual for me anymore. Well, then you had to go back and watch Cell again, so you kind of understood that. I can relate to that. Dave Souza says, I remember it being on the morning, getting ready for school, looping the same saga into the first bits of the Frieza saga, and then going right back to the beginning over and over and over again. Yeah, that was the pain that we dealt with back in the 90s. These kids nowadays, man, we're all spoiled now. We have Hulu and Funimation, all these different websites, and that like have the whole series on there. We have DVDs and Blu-rays. Back in the day, you couldn't get the whole series, man. You couldn't. You just couldn't without pirating. You literally couldn't. I couldn't. I had bootleg Japanese tapes. I still got them in the other room, man. I gave away a bunch of them years ago, but I still have a few. Okay. Super Saiyan Henry says, Canals 5, good old DBZ in Spanish when I was very, very young. I can clearly remember the first episode I ever watched was when Gohan went SS2, and it was glorious. The Cell Saga is my favorite to this day. Yeah, he writes the Cell Game Saga, but it's the same thing. I watched, when I was a kid in the 90s, Dragon Ball Z in English, Japanese, and Spanish because I had to watch the English dub because it was the easiest one to see. And then the Spanish dub was on Telemundo, so I saw that so I could see the episodes uncut. And then I watched the Japanese dub to see what had not come out, like the Cell Saga, the Boo Saga, the stuff that happened after that I had no access to. Had to watch it in Japanese, but when I started watching in Japanese, I got hooked on that version. So that's why I became like a purist in that sense. Unknown Assassin. My dad introduced me to it when I was about 3 or 4. I'm 12 right now, and I've loved it ever since. Damn, I didn't know you were that young. Most of my subscribers from Toonami generation. So if you're 12 now, that means you've been a fan for what, 8 years? That's a long time, but you're 12, man. I wonder if you even really you're gonna probably appreciate it more when you get older. Demon Nickel says, my older brother used to wake me up every Saturday at 6 a.m. in the morning to watch DBZ. He was definitely into it before I was. Like I said, I love the family stuff. I love when it's the dad and the brother, even the best friend who gets you into it. I'm going to read a couple more here. Chase Green says, I remember very distinctly coming home from school and watching Kyle Nick. Started a lifetime obsession is probably what you meant to say now. Well, I was able to turn it into a career, bro, and I'm very thankful for that. Special Noob says Saturday morning airing of the OG DB Saga 95-96. Yeah, I saw that too. That was the BLT dub. I had no idea what Dragon Ball was, but I knew instantly it was everything I had ever wanted in a cartoon. Yeah, the treasure hunting aspect of it. That's what where I really got hooked on. Sep says in Canada, the early 90s, we had Dragon Ball on a network called YTV. Love the series ever since. Yeah, YTV's sort of like Canada's Nickelodeon. They had everything on that channel, yo. Like, I'm very familiar with YTV. Corbin, not Baron Corbin, says, watching Toonami probably around 2000. My grandpa, oddly enough, I remember watching Dragon Ball a lot more than watching Z early on. Well, right around 2001, I think is when Dragon Ball began. I think it was '01 on Toonami, and that's probably what you remember. But again, Grandpa, I love the generational thing. It really is a generational show. And then Richard Fleming talks about the VHS tapes. Man, those were good times. So there's a lot of replies, y'all, and I did read through a lot of these. Not all of them, the other day when I was at the gym, I was just kind of like in between sets reading in, and it was cool. So thank you again for your replies, guys, and let me know, of course, in the comments if you haven't replied in the thread, how you got into Dragon Ball. I'm very curious. I love stories like this, man. It reminds me of when I was younger and nostalgia and what kind of brought us all together because we can debate on this damn shit every week, but I like that it brought us all together and I'm never gonna forget that. Toriyama's done a lot for me without even knowing who I am. So that's always appreciated. Have a great one. Talk to y'all very soon.